Yes, yes, yes. We're back again. How you guys doing? And welcome to the Jump Podcast. I'm here and we're having a great time. My next guest is going to show you how to get into the trenches, how to work out. I know sometimes an entrepreneur, you get busy, you get tired, you just want to give up, but don't give up. My next guest is going to show you how to jump into action, how to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Sit back, relax, and let's jump.
You know you should be doing something different, right? Hey, I'm talking to you. Do you believe that you have the gift for greatness or have a special talent, but don't have the courage to take that next step? Always wondering how others made it look so easy. Well, welcome to Jump, the show that will bring you special guests just like you and me. How did they get the courage to jump into greatness, doing what they love and living the good life? So get ready to jump with your host, Charles Matthews Jr.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave to the show.
What's going on, Charles? How are you, brother?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good, man. How you been?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. And thanks, we're carrying on a little bit before we got started. So tutorial, always, here you go. How do you jump and how do you do entrepreneurship? Well, you find people that know something else, know a little bit more about something than you do, and you glom onto them and you steal all their secrets. So you were sharing hard this morning. I love it, man.
Listen, I just, when I get a good vibe from somebody, I don't mind sharing. And that's what it's all about. If we can help each other grow to the next level, I don't mind. And I can tell that your spirit is well, you're living the good life. And that's what we want to talk about. Just how did you go through what you went through and just have that smile on your face right now that, is just lighting up the room right now. But let's backtrack.
Sure.
Let's go way back. Let's go back to when you were born and raised. Where are you from?
Oh, man. I grew up in Northern California on a dairy farm in the middle of nowhere in a town of I think it was just a little less than 5,000. It had one stoplight in it and it was in the wrong place. So it was the kind of place it was, and my family, I'm a fourth generation from Portuguese immigrants, right? So there's two types of Portuguese people, ones that get seasick and ones that don't. The ones that don't stayed on the East Coast and they fish, and the ones that got seasick are dairy farmers on the West Coast. There's just a joke that goes along with that. But yeah, the town was pretty small, and there was a lot of family. My extended family was there. So yeah, if you wanted to date a girl in high school, you kind of had to tell your mom who that was because it could have been a third cousin. You got to be careful. So anyway, my roots are small, but they're wholesome, right? Living on a farm, I say, is a great place to start because it's all there. When you talk about entrepreneurship, there is failure on the farm and there is adversity on the farm and there's long trying days and there's victories and there's results from hard work and there's hard work. So it's all there, brother. It's absolutely all there. And then walking you through graduated at 18, stuck around for about a year and worked the last harvest, and then went in the United States Air Force, and 30 years 6 months and 24 days later I retired from that, and then onward to this.
So let me go back because I got to put a note down. We got to talk about that stoplight in the wrong area, but we're gonna go back to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, don't leave that one alone. That's a whole podcast in itself. That's got a name to it, right?
But let's talk about the young you. Growing up, what did you want to become? Like, what did you see yourself doing?
Wow, so inspired a lot by patriotism for our country, and I'm of the age that I was impressed. I had a lot of impressions from the Vietnam War, but a lot of people that were very influential in my life were World War II veterans. So I always wanted to serve. I'd get up in the middle of the night and watch World War II movies with John Wayne in them, and I was going to be a Navy guy. And there was opportunities there to stay in farming and do those kind of things. But yeah, I always wanted to be a Navy guy. And when all the recruiters came to my school, and I went to the Navy recruiter, and the guy was not friendly. He did not have a smile on his face like me. And the Air Force guy puts his arm around me. He says, "I think we have some opportunities for you." And it changed my whole life.
Okay.
And I said, "Great, I want to be a plumber." And I had some family that were in that business and they were making good lives for themselves. I said, "I want to be a plumber." And when the Air Force, they made me a medic, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And we can get into that later. But yeah,
No, there you go. I know. So that's what I'm telling everybody. All it takes is a smile to change your life. So one doesn't smile, one puts his arm around you, and your whole life changes.
the attitude is everything.
There you go.
Your network is your net worth, and attitude is everything. Yeah, absolutely.
So then tell us your first day. You put on those hard boots, you step onto the field, and tell us how that felt.
You mean like basic training day?
Yeah, man, that first day, like you're all like hoorah and all this stuff, and then when you get there, it's like
I know. And so I had a kind of a crazy thing, because when you get to basic training, they call you rainbows because everybody's dressed in these civilian clothes, so you look like a rainbow, right?
Okay.
And then when you finally get your uniform, you're pickles because everybody was green, but you didn't have. And then you became a canned pickle because they finally put your name and your stuff on, right? and so your rainbow time should only last about a day and a half. You get there, you wake up, you show up like this, they run you down, they cut your hair off. That's always awesome, right?
Yeah.
And you still haven't learned discipline. So guys are coming out of the barbershop because you do it alphabetically. Well, my last name starts with an N. So I was kind of somewhere in the middle. And so you're looking at these guys come out, man, and they look like drowned rats. It's just terrible. And you're laughing, right? And you don't even know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
But I ended up being a rainbow for like 5 days because we had really bad weather in Alaska. And
Okay.
there was guys coming from Alaska. So we couldn't start until they got there. So they're hung up in these airports. So we, it was kind of just extra training day. So we just kind of were in our civilian clothes running around. It was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. But I will tell you what happened is on the fourth day, my training instructor came to me and he says, "I'm going to make you a squad leader." And I said, "Well, what is that?" And he goes, "These 12 guys, you're in charge of these 12 guys. You got to make sure that they get through the next 6 weeks." And I'm like, okay, I don't know what he saw in me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I'm pretty tall.
Okay.
And so height gets you in the door on this leadership stuff, right? Tall guy, I was in pretty good shape. I played ball and did that stuff. So who knows what the deal was. All I knew is I knew absolutely nothing about leadership. And I just told you where I came from. So how equipped was I to run around in my flight of 50 people? There was guys in there from inner city Philadelphia, upstate New York, Texas, Florida.
Yep.
And here I am, the leader. Boy, I had like zero tools. I had the empty toolkit. And so you start learning, man. And you know how you do it? You do it with a smile, and you close the gap, and you start having those critical conversations, right?
And the thing about it is only you know what your level is. This is why I try to tell everybody else. Nobody else knows what your level is until you tell them. You show the confidence, you show what you can do. They don't know what grade, level, what you have.
Yeah. And it's a matching thing, right? You have to declare. So just because you want to be an entrepreneur and you're great at baking bread, this is the grandma's cookie thing, right? So you're really good at baking grandma's cookies, and you go, "I'm going to bake grandma's cookies," and you're selling them around the neighborhood and making a little bit of cash. And you go, "No, I want to sell them in the county or the state. I want to get big. I want to sell them across the province, right? I want all of Toronto to buy my cookies." That gets hard, right? Now you got to do legal stuff. You might want to hire some people. It's stuff you don't know. So if you don't say out loud, "I don't know how to do this," how do you get help?
Right.
And this is so when you talk about jumping, you have to have the courage to go into these unknown spaces. Just because you have a dream and you want to move forward, you got to work in the unknown. So it's the Johari's window thing that I love to teach. When I do teaching, I love teaching Johari's window because, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's the 4 parts of your life, and the part that you mentioned is what you know and nobody else does.
Right.
And if you don't share that, that's a gap, right?
Yeah.
So back in basic training, I'm standing at one end of the barracks, and I got a guy named Bradley from inner city Philadelphia at the other end of the barracks. I know nothing about him. I got 2 options. I can make a lot of assumptions and lead that way, or I can close that gap. I can close that gap and have the conversation. That's it.
So let me ask you a question. Since they throw you in this role, give us one example where you failed at doing something, but you learned from your failure.
Well, I learned that yelling is effective when you're trying to get cows in the barn to milk them. It's not very effective when you're trying to get 12 guys to go to chow.
All right. Okay, break it down. What do you mean? Like, why can't you just yell at these guys and tell them to go?
Right. Because you just can't always leverage your position and your authority in life and assume that everybody's just going to be okay with that. You got to have some relationships. You got to have, you have to be able to influence people in a
Yes.
different way. And you got to know what motivates them and those type of things.
And at
So,
the end of the day, it's the respect. Because
well, it is.
if you say, "Hey
Yeah.
guys, we got to go," they're like, "Oh, he told us we got to go," and that's Dave. You're like, let's listen to
Yeah.
Dave. Like Dave said, "Let's go, let's go."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And people want leadership. They actually want direction and they want tough love. I think we
Mhm.
make the assumption sometimes that we have to be people's friends when
You're
we're
right.
in leadership positions. And it's not that way. All they want is clear, concise, credible, and consistent communication. There's
To help
five C's right there. Right.
to help them make themselves better.
Right. And then you have to be open to the 360 feedback, right? Because those are your allies. Those are the people that tell you when you don't have any clothes on.
Mm,
Right? When you're getting ready to spend money the wrong way, when you're going to say something you shouldn't, when you
right.
got, when you got something stuck on your nose, and they don't let you go out in public until you wipe it off. Whatever it is, you got to have those people in your life, and that's based on respect and bilateral respect.
All
Yeah,
right.
I
So,
always go
so
ahead.
hold on. No. There's something that you said. I want to do it slowly so my listeners can write it down.
Sure. All right.
Okay. Tell them the 5 C's one more time, just so because
Right.
all my listeners, I tell them every time, bring a notepad and bring a pen to the show.
Right.
Give them the 5 C's one more time.
So the big C is communication, right? That's one. But under that is clear, concise, credible, and consistent.
So
That's what,
at the end of the day, if you're not doing those when you're leading, part of it's your fault. If the person doesn't understand what the job was, if the person didn't understand or didn't hear you or clearly
right.
follow the rules, maybe there was something that you didn't do with one of those C's for them
Yes.
to understand exactly what you
Yes.
wanted them to do.
Yes. And I still screw it up today. I always go when I'm having a problem like that, I always go back and go, okay, was I clear? Was I
Mhm.
concise? Was I credible? And have I been consistent?
Right.
Because just think about what drives emotion. If somebody tells you that everybody needs to be here at 11, and that goes
Hmm.
on for a month, right?
Yep.
And then one day everybody shows up and there's at 11 and there's nobody there. And the thing starts at 12.
Right.
And they go, because people like routine.
Yes. Yes.
And so if there's going to be a change, you got to manage that. And that's the five things,
Right.
It's yeah.
And make sure that the one thing that I've always noticed, and I'm glad we're talking about this because this is what a leader is. This is what an entrepreneur is. When you're leading your team, did everybody get the message together? Did you single 3 out and left the other 2 that didn't hear? Did you bring all 5 together and say, "Hey, listen to my
Yeah.
5 C's. Does everybody get it? Yep. Good. I'll see you tomorrow." Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, 3 people show up, 1 didn't show up, 1 didn't understand what the other one is saying. It's a broken record.
Yeah. Yep. And then you know what? The people that are left out feel disrespected.
Absolutely.
And then it's a downhill slide, right? It really is. I mean, you have to recover from that. I always tell people, my graduate degree is in disaster management. So you talk about having to communicate with people, try telling a whole bunch of people to turn around and leave a city and pick up and evacuate and do those kind of things.
Mhm.
You gotta nail that. I tell people often that uh, you know when you give one bad communication,
Yeah,
it takes five good ones to recover from the one bad.
gotcha.
And it's no different than somebody saying, the number is 39, and you go, oh, it's really 38. It takes you have to communicate in five different ways, five different times to get everybody to reset to 38 after you said
Mhm.
39 once. Because people consume things and they move on. So you gotta nail it straight out of the gate.
So
And
you so usually in my program, I always ask everybody, give us one of your highlights. Give us something that you remember. But I'm going to actually throw your highlight back at you, and I want you to
uh-huh.
talk about it. Okay. So Bronze Star Combat
Oh,
Decorated Medal.
yeah.
Talk about that, please. What is a Bronze Star? Like, if people don't know, like, we see these things on TV and the medals. What, like,
Right.
talk about that.
Right. Right. The Bronze Star is it's changed over the years. If you go back to the Bronze Star for our World War II vets, like the Normandy folks. You know, Canada's got a huge history there in Normandy, which is, and I've been there, and it's pretty awesome. But you know, the Bronze Star is for meritorious service in a combat zone, working in a combat zone. That medal is directly. You want to talk about attitude and leadership and clear, concise communication. That medal is directly related to leading 235 medics at the main trauma center in Iraq through the surge in 2008. And during that time frame, we had a 99.5% survival rate. If you came off the helicopters and you could see us, or you could see the flag on the top of what we called Heroes Highway, if you could do that, you went home. And I attribute that to when I was on my way there, I figured there was two things that we needed to do. We were going into a rough time, and we needed to share pain. So shared pain is a entrepreneurial trait. You know, you got to go into the painful places, and we were going to develop an organizational attitude that wasn't only contagious but would pull us through the rough spots. So I won't give you my whole keynote speech because it is my keynote, and it's why the company's called Max Fab. I started doing push-ups. I hate push-ups. I hate it. So I decided that we were all going to do push-ups every day, every place that I went to talk to the folks, no matter what was going on.
Yeah.
As long as we could find a break in the action, we'd do push-ups together.
Okay.
And so in a typical morning, I would have 160 push-ups done by the time I got around to see everybody. But after I was done with push-ups, when you're a leader, when you're leading an organization, when people ask you how you're doing, your answer is really important. It's not it's not routine. The way that you answer the question is really important. So here I am in a combat zone leading people through trauma medicine every day. And they would say, Chief, how you doing? And I would say, I'm maximum fabulous. And they would say, what in the world is that? And I said, that's the hierarchy of attitude. And if we're not there, we got to keep working to get there because we're going to have some rough days. Right. And if somebody's not max fab, you need to drag them to max fab, but we've got to stay there. So long story short, after all of that, actually the flag behind me in the background is the flag they took off of the top of the trauma center and they embroidered it. And the bottom words on there are maximum fabulous.
Nice.
And so that all ties in together. So when I left, they decorated me for those accomplishments in that leadership position. So really, I have a Bronze Star for operations in a combat zone for the hard work of 235 wonderful people doing God's work. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, listen, I don't usually do this, but you need another big, another round of applause to you, sir. So thank you for everything that you've done for those people and everything you keep doing. And this is why, you know, I think a podcast for you is amazing. Get the story out, get everybody to know what's going on, what people don't even realize the things that you do and how emotional, not just physical, but emotional this is all is. So thank you once again. But it's now time to have some fun, my friend. Let's get to know you a little bit better. Let's go. It's now time for rapid fire. We're going to ask you a couple of questions. You got 2 minutes on the clock, and you just got to throw out whatever comes to your mind. Now, you can elaborate, but remember, you got 2 minutes on the clock to get them all through. But here's the fun thing about it. You get to choose your own questions. So what do you want? A, B, C, or D?
D.
D. I love it. All right. 2 minutes on the clock starts now. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
Kangaroo. They're always moving forward.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
A beetle.
Describe yourself in 5 words.
Obnoxious in a good way.
All right. Oh my God. Tell me the nickname your parents used to call you.
Davy baby.
What is your favorite childhood memory?
Spending time with my grandfather.
What's something you don't like doing besides the push-ups?
Oh, I got to omit push-ups. Laundry. Anything to do with laundry.
Favorite flower?
Probably dandelion.
How good at you from 1 to 10 of keeping a secret?
7.5.
There you go. What is your best feature?
My smile.
And when are you the most happiest?
When I'm with friends,
There
true
you go,
friends.
my friend. You made it through rapid fire with 40 seconds left on the clock.
You chewed up 10 seconds laughing at my obnoxious answer.
I like it. I love it a lot. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because not the way I feel, not everybody will understand you. Not everybody's going to be your friend. You can just put out your vibe. And if they gravitate to you, it's a blessing.
amen.
So that's
I
all it
agree.
is. So talking about blessings, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about what you're
Sure.
doing. What are you doing? Talk about it to us.
Yeah. So the next calling right after retirement, after the military is, I bounced around. And so there's a bit of a story here that you got to kind of roll with me on. But I've kind of been through the wash, rinse, using laundry as an example, wash, rinse, spin, dry, fold cycle of military life, post-military life, and the things that come along with that, to include post-traumatic stress and moral injury, which I've gotten on the right side of that. I went through a pretty rough time and had to work on my relationship with alcohol, which I haven't had a drink in 5 years, which is huge. And the clarity that comes along with that puts you in a situation where you can really start to help people. And so my main focus with the company right now is leadership development, especially for young leaders. Most people start leading like I did in basic training in 5 seconds, but most people start leading at the age of 30. They get a second job where they're leading leaders at the age of 39, and by the age of 42, somebody gives them some formal leadership training. And that's a gap that probably needs to be filled not only in my country but across the world, because we've got to grow tomorrow's leaders. And so the consultancy, we focus on giving those opportunities to people based on my experience and other people that I work with that are strong leaders with strong backgrounds. And then the deep-seated passion is veteran transition. For those of us that are coming out of the military, be it after 4 years or 30 years, it's you're institutionalized. And when you're institutionalized and you have to reintegrate into any society, there's some difficulties there, and we have some gaps. So my Vet Ready program is working with civilian employers to create a social environment within the workspace that actually helps us heal, helps us become healthier and happier, and gives us the opportunity to deal with the challenges of a transition out of an institution. We do more for our prisoners coming out of that institution than we probably do for our veterans. And we have extremely high rate of suicide per day in our veteran population, and then obviously the mental health and the substance abuse stuff. And so to help curb that, your job is important to you. A sense of purpose is very important to veterans or anybody. And so that social environment, that social capital that employers should be working on, uh, there's room for improvement there. And so, what better opportunity to go in and work with people that really control an extremely important portion of the lives of human beings, right? We spend a lot of time at work. We identify with work. For men, especially, that's our purpose in life. We really talk about what we do and how we do it and why we do it and our passions, which is why entrepreneurs are great, because they're following their passions, and that wraps around their purpose, and it helps feed that part of our soul that we need fed. So if you go into an institution, and we've hedged on some of that stuff already, if you go into an institution and you're not feeling respected, you're not feeling valued, you can't find your space, and they don't even understand the language you speak because you've come from a different institution, different planet, right? Different lingos and cultures, and on that, and that where the values match up, aren't right, and you don't have an environment to reintegrate to, um, and you end up leaving. So most veterans, 43 out of 100 veterans, leave their first job in their first year, and some of them never go back to work. So the employers get the benefit of all the great stuff that comes with veterans, and there's a piles of it, the leadership and the training and
Yeah.
the discipline and all those type of things. But on the back end of that, veterans leave because a lot of times they just don't value a line. We need three-dimensional, clear, concise, credible, consistent. We need that, and we need values alignment. So this will probably resonate with you, Charles, because I'm just kind of watching where you're grounded. So when you get into the respect thing, right? Think about having values on the wall that say things like excellence and service and integrity.
Right.
As a military person, when you see that little plaque on the wall,
Mhm.
You're looking for it. You want to see the three-dimensional version of that. Well, if that's not demonstrated, or worse, it's violated.
Right.
You have already disconnected from the
From
institution, and
that
when
person. That's
yeah,
it's already gone.
yeah, and when you do that, then you start to lack your sense of purpose, because in the military we're charged with so much responsibility for people's lives, equipment, expensive things, even at a young age. I mean,
Mhm.
be you've got guys, operating pieces of machinery that are millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're 18, 19, 20 years old. Their whole frontal lobe's not even developed, right? They're not even 25 years old. I mean, rental car companies won't let you rent a car until you're 25 for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, we turn people at 18, 19 over to these situations, and they do well. Every single day they execute and do well. So when they
So
come
tell
out, they deserve that.
so
Go
tell
ahead.
everybody where they can get this book.
Yeah.
Tell them where to go pick it up right now. How to pick it up.
Right. I'll make it real easy. maxfabconsulting.com. Click on get the book. It'll take you to Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all that. You can get in there. You can read my blogs. You can look. I started my own podcast. I'm gonna have to talk to you offline so I don't screw it up, because you obviously got this thing licked. It's awesome. So you can listen to the Kangaroo podcast, is what it's called, because we're always moving forward,
There you go.
especially in leadership. And yeah, go to the website and just surf around, and consume the newsletters and stuff in there, because there's a lot of good stuff. But the book is giving back, and it's titled that for a reason. Life and leadership from the farm to the combat zone and beyond, and it's just it's kind of a it's a compilation of farm experience, how to apply to leadership, something I screwed up, and then some advice at the end of it on how not to do that. And so people use it as a workbook. Yeah, there's not a lot of cheerleading. The Max Fab stories in the book. Um, there's not a lot of Dave was here and he's a big hero and climbed the mountain and got the gold medal.
Don't worry. We can feel that already, my friend. All right.
Ah, that's awesome.
Let's have some fun. Here we go.
Sure.
Now time for pick 3.
It's not time for pick 3. You get to ask your own 3 questions before we let you go. So give me 3 numbers from 1 to 13. And those are the questions I'm going to ask you before we let you go.
All right. 13,
13,
11,
11,
and 1.
13, 11, and 1. 13. What are the 3 podcasts or shows you would recommend to our listeners?
Oh, wow. Deep Leadership by John Rennie is probably, and I've been on there twice. He's amazing. Battle Buddies. That if you're in line with my veteran stuff, the Battle Buddy podcast. And then probably Jump, man. This is awesome. I was getting ready to tell you this is way in the top. I'm gonna dime you out. I'm sold. This
And you
is
forgot
great.
and you forgot about one more.
What, mine? Kangaroo Leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely.
There you go. All right, so we're gonna switch the curve a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us, what's one myth about the Army, Navy, Air Force that you want to squash right now?
We are not killers. If we're amongst you being in or out, our mission is not to kill. Our peace is our profession, and we train and sweat in peacetime so that we don't have to bleed in wartime. And so strength, peace through strength, and that's how the mission set is. And so yes, there is a lethal component to what we do,
Right.
but the whole goal is to never have to use it.
There you go. And number one thing, I like this one. What is the one thing you wish you'd have known before strapping on those boots and going into the field?
A lot more about diversity, a lot more about people, and have been exposed to some travel. That was a huge journey for me. I tell people that in this diversity, equity, and inclusive environment that I'm an expert of 40 years of experience, because it started for me in 1984 in a barracks in San Antonio. So I love it.
Yeah, and you know something, that you said that, I think that is the best answer ever, because if you knew everybody's different takes, different styles, different things, it would have made your life much easier. So when you go in and they talk about it, you're like, I know that. Oh, I know that one too. Like it just makes your life much easier to understand everybody's style and everybody's music, everybody's
All
little
of it.
quirks, all of that. So definitely love that answer right there. All right, my friend, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the Jump podcast. I don't usually do this, but for you, you get to do it, my friend. Anybody you want to shout out to, anybody you want to say hi to, go ahead. This is your time. It's like the Oscars, this is your time to do the speech.
Seriously. Well, I want to do a shout out to my brothers and sisters who are running Fathers in the Field, especially my buddy Mike Parent Gentile, who's filling the gap for young men in our country that are raised without fathers for whatever reason, and making that part of their life right, because it's really important, and I'm passionate about that. So, Fathers in the Field out of Denver, Colorado, and they're making a big impact, and philanthropically, that's where I tend to spend my time. So, yeah, go Fathers in the Field, go Mike.
All right. Thank you so much, my friend, for joining us on the Jump podcast. It's been fun with you. And listen, everybody else, what are you waiting for? You've heard what he's got to say. Things take time, but if you had the chance, why not? Get to the edge, grab someone's hand, and just jump. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you for listening. If you liked the show or have a comment, we would love to hear from you. Join our mailing list, and as always, check out our special deals links below. I hope this has inspired you to look at your life and jump. See you next week.